Good morning, my name is Fernanda Silva and I am a tutor for Parkland Middle School. I'm also a sophomore at UTEP and I am majoring in psychology with a minor in sociology. So, one of the colleges that I had chosen was Santa Clara University, and this university I did a brief research on it as well as looking into some of the advantages and disadvantages of attending this university. And I will also provide some advantages and disadvantages to public universities and community colleges since Santa Clara is a private university. So it's a four-year university. The tuition and fees is pretty high for one school year. It's 53,634. They do have a big amount of undergraduates. It's located in Santa Clara. It is a private university, but it's co-ed, and the dominant race, the highest percentage of ethnicity, is white with 48.7%, and it is more than 100 years old because it was founded in 1851. And the dominant religion in this campus is Roman Catholic. So some pros and cons to attending Santa Clara University. So some advantages would be, since it is a private university, they do have smaller classes, which means it's easier for you to communicate with your professors and build connections with your professors and be able to understand the lesson and everything that they're explaining easier because the classes are smaller, there's not a lot of distractions, and the professor also works on building relations with the students instead of just teaching the the project or whatever they're doing and just going with whoever pays attention. It's also a better way to focus on sports and groups events because it's smaller in population. So there's of course the athletes, and it's easier for the teachers to focus on the athletes and everything. Some disadvantages would be the application process. It is more thorough. They do focus more on your scores for tests. Their tuition is higher. There's more rules. So there's a lot of enforcement on students. The student body is smaller, so you can't really like make connections with other people, but there's still a big amount of students. As you saw, there was 5,000 for Santa Clara, and you have to sometimes request permission to leave campus. So for public universities, some advantages is that it is public funded. So that means that it attracts a lot of top teachers and professors. It's a competitive atmosphere. They have state-of-the-art research facilities where they do the science and the biology research and other kinds of research. And it's public funded, so that's why they have very good equipment there because it's funded by the public, and that's how they get their money to fund these kind of things. Some disadvantages would be that it's a lot of self-discipline compared to high school because you're required to really have to um, focus, and they're very independent. The students are very independent, so they have to focus more, and it's there's not a lot of personal attention, so there's not a lot of interaction with your faculty or other students. So it's harder for some students to make the transition from like high school where they're able to talk to their teachers to a public university because they don't get as much attention, and it's a lot of like, oh, I have to do this, oh, I need to plan out my week so that I know that I don't miss deadlines and all that. So for community college, some advantages. It's the most affordable option. It's very flexible with your schedule. It doesn't follow the 9 to 5 schedule that some colleges usually do. The classes are much smaller. They're sort of like high school classes. They do have their lecture halls, but they're not that common. There you have extra time to choose what right college you want. You have the option to explore many careers. Some disadvantages would be that the workloads are lighter, so it's harder for students to adapt to a four-year university when they transfer because they're not used to it and it's still like a high school environment in a community college. The majority of the colleges don't have a campus life, so not a lot of students stay on campus, so there's not a lot of socialization or like group events that they do, such as the ones that they have like at UTEP, where certain halls have their parties or things like that. There's limited degree options, and not all of your credits transfer from your community college to the four-year university when you decide to move. So some common characteristics amongst all three of these types of universities, would be that it's usually the first time away from home for some students. It's a lot of responsibility and independence. They lose the familiar atmosphere of having to see the same people every day, same classes every day. They all offer financial assistance for students. The scholarships are not that common for community college, though. There's self-discipline, of course, required from students, and a lot of degree options that are offered. And that is my presentation on some advantages and disadvantages of how Santa Clara is a private university.